Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. Hope you can hear me all right. And brilliant. That's the first thing that's worked then, really. So we'll celebrate that. So me and Latif are here from Airedale Hospital, and we've come to chat to you about some of the work that we do supporting our patients and their families around the time of death. Now, as Sarah was saying, yeah, we had some lovely photos to show you of all different sorts of aspects of what we do, which we can't show you right now, but we might be able to find a way to share some of those with you later. So you just got us chatting, really, but no, that's okay. It's old school. Well, that's fine. We'll manage, and Sarah will keep an eye on any sort of questions and stuff or comments, and hopefully steer us a little bit as well. So yes, we're just going to have a little chat about things. So we're kind of looking at our slides a little bit to guide us. So if we look a bit distracted, we're probably trying to look at what we're supposed to be telling you. So to start off with, a bit about us. So we are healthcare chaplains based at Airedale NHS Trust, which is near Keighley in West Yorkshire, and it's quite a sort of big general hospital, isn't it, Latif?
Yes,
We've
yes.
got an ED, we've got maternity, and all sorts of wards. It's not a big trust, but it's quite broad in what it does, and it's a friendly hospital. And so I've been running the chaplaincy here for about 4 years, and there's been quite a lot of changes in that time. Latif's been here a bit longer, but his role has definitely expanded and increased during that time, which has been really helpful. Do you want to say hi, Latif?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, all. As we know, a webinar is not a webinar until there's a technical hitch, and here it is. And it's part of our role to stand on our feet and given the situation. So I think we have to improvise. So
Definitely.
we're certainly doing that today. That's not a problem. So hopefully, like Liz has mentioned, we'll try to send the PowerPoint to yourself so you have a better understanding of what we're talking about. And again, in terms of introducing ourselves, every month we're quite fortunate. We've got a slot where we do the corporate inductions. So all the new staff have an opportunity to share any questions with us. We have an opportunity to share about our role in a 15-minute slot. So yes, it's a fantastic opportunity.
Mm-hmm. It's good. And I think it probably is quite appropriate to us that things have gone a little bit wrong, because I think a lot about healthcare chaplaincy is responding in the moment. And whereas other kinds of ministry are quite often around sort of having a long time to think and plan something, quite often we get dropped into situations that are different every day and different every time. And we just have to kind of go with it and find out what the best response is to people. So we're all good. So yeah, so um, we'll move on a little bit to tell you a little bit about what we do. We just thought we wanted to say, before we started talking about how we support people around the end of life, we just wanted to flag up that as chaplains, we do all sorts of other things as well. It just seemed important to say that, because sometimes people think that healthcare chaplains, we only go to someone's bedside when it is the end of life. And sometimes patients, even today, they'll look a bit panicky when we come in, as if it means they're dying, and say, no, we just come to say hello. So we get involved in all sorts of aspects of hospital life. We run groups for staff. We run sort of worship. We get
Yeah.
involved in all sorts of corporate stuff that goes on, as well as supporting patients day by day, just chatting and finding out how everything's going and supporting them through their hospital journey. And we love it, don't we?
We do.
Because every day is different.
Yeah, yeah, it gives one of the recent ones that we had. We had an invite to the WI,
Oh yeah, we
the
do.
local Women's Institute, where we talked about our roles, and that was a fantastic turnout. And wow,
We
what
got biscuits and everything.
absolutely
It was
fantastic.
great, yeah. So we do all sorts of different things for the hospital, and we're part of a multi faith team as well. So we've got a Buddhist chaplain, Rebecca, who's with us. We've got a Church of England chaplain, and Roman Catholic chaplain, and Latif, who's a Muslim chaplain, Shamsuddin, who's also another Muslim chaplain who works on a Friday. So we all work together, and we think it's really important to us that we do approach things together as a team, and we try not to focus too much on always sending a Muslim person to a
Yeah,
Muslim patient. Because we can't always do that, because we are a small trust with a fairly small budget. So sometimes it ends up with somebody who doesn't always appear on first sight to be the most appropriate person to come, but yet actually it turns out really well. But we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later as we go through our presentation that you can't see, but we can. So supporting patients at the end of life. I think it's important to say as a starter that the support that we give people at the end of life isn't just around faith, it's around life, it's around that person, it's around listening to their story and understanding where they've come from, if they're well enough to do so. And hopefully we've met them a few times before, or in an ideal world we've met them as they've gone through their hospital journey. We've learned a bit about them, we know where they're coming from, and we know a bit about what they're hoping for. I mean, we've met their family and friends as well, perhaps. So part of that is getting to know them. And as we come to the bedside, maybe as it's coming towards the end of life, we're drawing people, friends and family together. And we may, at that point, it may be appropriate to bring some sort of reflection or prayer or something into that setting. And that's the patient's and the family's choice as to what that might look like next. And it can look like some different things, because it's also important to say that just because whether someone has a religious faith or not, they're equally welcome to use the chaplaincy service. And we really passionately believe that chaplaincy is something for everybody. Everybody has something that makes them tick. Everybody has reasons to get up in the morning. Everyone has their ideals and their hopes and their dreams and the things that matter to them, and that makes them spiritual people. So we're very keen to put out to our staff and to refer to us, even if people maybe don't have a religious faith, but they want to see us anyway. So I did find out kind of fairly early doors with the chaplaincy here at Airedale that there was a need for this kind of thing. And I think it was when I went to see a lady, and she said, well, I'm an atheist, she said, but welcome, come in anyway, it's good to see you. She said, I think I'm coming towards the end of my life. It's going to be just a few, tell me it's just a few days now, but you know what, just because I'm not a person of faith doesn't mean I don't want something to mark that rite of passage. I'd like to have a little service by my bedside for my family. I'd like something to happen, like to bring everyone together. So I said, oh, do you know what, that's really good. So I had to rush back to the office and put something together. So I kind of wrote and sort of end of life service, really, that didn't involve any religion, but talked about the value of this person, how special she was, and reflected a bit about her life, gave people opportunity to speak. And then we sort of said some sort of words of non-religious blessing, kind of wishing her well with her journey onwards, whatever that might look like. And that went quite well, and we handed out some little hearts to the family, and it was something to tuck back in the file, and I've used it a few times since. So just wanted to sort of flag up that it's not always around faith. And I think you've got someone coming from the humanist perspective and in one of these webinars at some point, and I'm sure that person will tell you a lot more about that. But I just wanted to mention that was part of what we do. And you had a bit of a story, Latif, about that, didn't you, as well?
I did, yes. Recently, I was asked to support the family, and the mother was sadly at end of life, and they asked if I would come in and share a few words, and a few non-religious words. So because it was the telephone call from the receptionist from the hospital, I did say that I am a Muslim. I'm happy to come in if you make the family members aware. And then they got back to me in a few minutes, and they said, the family said, it's absolutely fine for you to come and share some words, which I did. And it was a very moving experience for me, because again, it's not something that's normal for us, but it's something that we hear about. But certainly within the Bradford district area, it was a non-Muslim woman, and I was able to share some words, and it brought some great comfort to the family members. So it was an experience for myself as well.
So it's good to be able to support everybody at the end of life. Yeah. And we do what we can, and we bring who we are and what we can, I think, to the bedside, with that recognition that we're not always the perfect fit. Yeah. But we haven't got a humanist chaplain with us on the team at the moment, and we haven't always got everyone here every day. But we come and we do what we can, and it always starts with the listening, doesn't it? And listening to what people want and what they need. Also, that's the big difference between chaplaincy and perhaps other forms of ministry, that we don't have a remit to preach or to teach or to change anybody's point of view or try and make them different in any way. We're here to support each individual with their journey and their beliefs and their thoughts. So when we come alongside them, that's what we're trying to do the best we can, to sometimes help reframe things a bit, sometimes to bring hope, but never to try and change anybody or to make anything that sort of upset things. I was going to hand over to Latif now for a little bit, because it felt important that he would be able to share with you something around what Muslim families need and require towards the end of their lives and after death. And so I'm going to ask Latif to talk us through some of those things now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm sure you might be asking the question, what happens at the end of life or towards the end of life, and when we are called as professionals to bedside. And of course, it can be very challenging, not just for us, but the family members. Clearly, in some situations, there's pressure on the immediate family members, pressure in terms of time, in terms of support network, etc. Often, some people haven't had a bereavement in their family, in their own home. So some people don't know what the processes are. So that can be quite challenging in its own rights. So often we're asked to come at bedside, and in some cases to recite some verses of the Quran and share words of comfort from the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, etc. And that brings great comfort to those who are present. Sometimes we've been in to a bedside where there's 15, 17 people, and sometimes I've been where there's only 2 or 3 family members. And equally, it's really important for those family members who request our support, and they truly value this service at the end of life, because clearly there's great significance in terms of asking and seeking forgiveness on behalf of the person who may be unwell. Again, talking a little bit about the life that they've led in terms of positive achievements that they've had, the children, the contributions that they made to their children, if there are. So we are always aware that it's not just another person who's at end of life. There's a whole history of an individual, and often it's about sharing the processes about what takes place and sensitively explaining to the family members that when their loved one has passed away, what are the basic rights. So in terms of, if I was to be at bedside where somebody will be passing away at the end of life, palliative care, etc., then I normally would speak to the family members and share with them that when the person has passed away, that these are the very basic duties that are required of their loved ones, i.e., closing of the eyes and turning the head slightly towards the right side and placing the arms on the side of the body, and if and where possible, that the straightening of the legs and tying a bandage on the toes so the legs are kept together. So, and also tying a bow underneath the chin and top of the head so the mouth is closed. So these are the very basic information that we share with the family members, and some of the training that's been done by the chaplains at the hospitals involves sharing it with the staff who might be on the ward when chaplains are not necessarily around. It might be out of hours. So I think we're very fortunate that some of the staff, and even though they're non-Muslims, they're aware of these basic duties and they also can guide people. And like we said before, there's pressures of time. We need to inform our family members. We need to get in touch with the mosques. We need to arrange with the funeral directors. So that's part of our role. And often things can come together very quickly. So a person could pass away the night before on a Sunday, and the funeral could take place as early as 2 o'clock on the following day if it's a working day.
So why is that so quick, Latif? Because that seems like a real rush.
Yeah, because everything is in place in terms of the medical examiner. If the person's been in hospital and there's no delays in terms of the paperwork, if the registration of the death has been made or an appointment has been made with the council, then all that can take place within a set number of hours.
And that's important for a faith perspective, that it happens quickly.
That's
Do you want to explain a little bit about why that's important?
Well, we know that it's important. I mean, some people say that it has to be done within 24 hours, and that's not necessarily the case. It's as soon as it's inevitably possible. So it's repatriating the body in, in the soil. And then again, it covers the aspects of bereavement and grieving as well. So we're instructed to support the family members and be around them for a number of 3 days or sometimes 4 days in some cultures. But that support doesn't just mean in person, it also means supporting them in terms of maybe offering food to those visitors that are here to share their condolences, also to assist them in terms of financially supporting them, because obviously everybody's financial needs are varied, and sometimes when death takes place, it can come at unexpected times. So, as a result of, as an act of worship, Muslims are encouraged to offer that support, and we see that many examples up and down the country where sadly somebody's passed away and the family has no loved ones, or the family are struggling, and an announcement has been made through various social media websites, platforms, or at the mosque, and within minutes in some cases, the whole cost of the funeral of £2,000 or £3,000 has been absolutely covered, and including for the food, etc. as well. So we know people take and seek opportunities to gain that reward at this time to support individuals, and in some cases, total strangers that they go on to support.
Yeah.
So in terms of the hospital aspect, our role would be to share this basic information with them, liaise with the hospital staff and the bereavement services which are based in the hospitals, just to keep the transition taking place so there's no delays unnecessarily taking place. And that brings great comfort to the family members that everything's taking place swiftly, that we hope.
I think that's usually what we hear, isn't it? That people are quite anxious just to move things forward, and sometimes we can help to move things forward and to help speed things along a bit. And and sometimes it's just around just supporting people, because you're saying there's quite a lot of pressure, isn't there? And sometimes it's these situations. I guess all families are a bit like this. We definitely notice it with the Muslim families where everybody wants to help, but everybody's got a different bit of advice.
Yeah,
and everybody's coming at you with, we should do this, we should do that. And sometimes you can come along and say, okay, I think this is what we need to do first.
Yeah.
And then we can do this, and I'll ring them, and then we can sort of guide you through this.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
I was recently asked to attend the hospital upon the passing of a male, and I went, and in the side room there were two of his children. One was 21, one was about 17, and they had no immediate family in the UK. And again, they'd never experienced anything of the sort that they were meant to deal with. And I explained to them about the basic rights of the deceased in terms of the bandages, etc. And both were in tears. And I encouraged them that I'll be present and I'll guide you through the whole process. And I'm glad they took the initiative to do so, because it must have brought great closure to them. So I spoke to them together, both brother and sister. They assisted the basic rights of the father, and within 20 minutes of that taking place, I contacted the funeral director. The funeral director made his way to the hospital, and within an hour and a half, we were able to arrange and locate the mosque where the funeral would be taking place, where the shrouding and the washing of the deceased was to take place, and also the arrangement for the announcement for the person who passed away to notify friends and family that were in Bradford and out of the district to take place, and the whole costs, etc., were shared with the family members. So there was nothing left for them to do apart from obviously concentrate on the grievement and waiting for the funeral to take place, which was on the Monday after the death took place on a Saturday morning. So things can move swiftly if everything is and everyone is working together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was an example where, it's not again normal where a family member has little or no support, but the pressure is on, and
Mm,
everybody wants to concentrate on having the funeral taking place within good time.
mm, mm. Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful. I'm sure people might have a few questions to you later,
Yeah.
but we'll continue on. Um, we just wanted to talk a little bit about our support of the labour and maternity wards here at Airedale, and this bit might have got a little bit of a health warning with it, because I didn't want to obviously we don't want to upset anybody this morning, and if you think it might be difficult for you, if you want to bob away and have a cup of tea and come back in 10 minutes, that's okay, but do come back. Yeah, because we need to talk about our support for when the little ones need us. Yeah. I suppose the first thing to say would be sometimes it's happy news when the labour ward ring us, and I've certainly been called down to say, please, could you just come down and just give prayers of thanks for this family, because the little ones arrived, the babies arrived, and all is well. And that's just the most wonderful, lovely time to be able to do that and to offer those prayers, or to just to welcome the baby. And we love it when that happens. And you have a thing, a special Muslim thing. Tell us about your
Yeah,
special
yeah,
Muslim
special
whispery.
Muslim
I
whisper.
call it Latif's baby whispering, but it's got a
Yeah,
proper
yeah,
name.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when a Muslim child is born, the emphasis on the first words that they listen to are the words of our Creator, Allah, and the call to prayer, which is also the same as the call to prayer, which is heard at the mosques at the time of prayer, and that's recited in the right ear and also in the left ear of the child. And again, it's a fantastic time for family members as well to express their gratitude to their creator that everything's taken place well over the 9 months, etc. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 family members there, sometimes it's only their mother, and in some cases the baby's in an incubator. So either way, it is a happy occasion for all. And yeah, it's a fantastic time. And from time to time at the hospital, or in sometimes personal cases, we get telephone calls to say, can you come onto the maternity or the labour ward to do the call of prayer? It's always a positive one.
It's a lovely idea that that's sort of one of the very first things is the one hears is these special words whispered into their ear.
Yes.
So that's a lovely thing. But obviously, although most babies are born healthy and well, sometimes that's not the case. So I'm afraid that it's more often that when the labour ward ring us on the maternity ward, it's because things have not had a happy outcome. And so it happens from time to time that they will ring and say that a baby has, as they would say, been born sleeping. Sometimes this is known to be happening. Sometimes the mother will know that this is going to be the outcome for a little while, and sometimes it will have happened quite suddenly, and something has gone wrong in the birthing process. And rather than having the live and beautiful baby that they're expecting to have, they find themselves thrown into a deep sense of distress and mourning and loss, of not just the loss of what they're expecting to happen that day, but a sense of just the loss of what the future was had in store for them. So at that point, we would one of us would attend onto the ward, whoever was there, really to go and to see this family. And one of the first things I always do is usually the baby's there, quite often in a special cold cot, and I will always look at the baby and I'll always admire the baby. And even if the baby, it's been through bless it, it's been through he or she's been through a really rough time, and maybe not looking perfect, it always seems really appropriate to just to say it's a lovely little baby, and wow, goodness me, look at you, and just to have the attention on the little one, really. And then I would ask the family, after they told the story, if they want to, what kind of support they'd like. Would you like the baby to be named? Would you like some sort of ceremony? Would what would work for you? And would you like something with some religious faith, or would you like something that's just sort of non-religious? And I probably think the most common thing these days is people saying, yes, we really want the baby named, and we probably like a non-religious service. So then often we'll arrange for that to be in a few hours' time, maybe later on that day, and I'll go back to the office and try and usually put something together that's personal for that family in some way or other. And I will then go back, and there may be some other family members there, and we will share in that naming of the baby. And they have some poems that I use, and some little symbols, some little hearts that I will hand out, and sometimes I've got a little teddy bear and things that just bring some comfort to the family. And I think there's something very special about giving a name to a little one at times like this. It recognises that, that they're a person who's come from love and they've always known love. And I think parents want to have that recognised with the name. It doesn't legally make any difference in a sense, but it matters in that moment that the baby's named. And often I talk as well about how that baby has made a difference in the world. And I think parents find that helpful because, you know, people want to know that their loved one's made a difference. And that's very hard to compute or imagine when your little one hasn't maybe breathed in this world at all. But yet I will talk about the love that that baby has generated in the expectation of his or her arrival, and how that love is now in the world. And we kind of talk about what's going to happen to that love next and how it's going to grow and the memories and all these kind of things. So we talk about this and we have our little ceremony, and then I'll usually leave the family to continue with the amazing support that our bereavement midwives, Bev and Gemma, give them. We have photographers that come in and take some beautiful photographs, and memory boxes created. And I was hoping to show you a picture of our lovely sunbeam garden, which the parents have created in our Airedale outdoor space. And they have a self-help group, and parents come and meet there. And it's a beautiful tree with sort of engraved leaves with names of babies who've died. And there's a great support for parents. And I'm able to attend their meetings and do stuff there, which is a great privilege as well. So it's a hopefully, well, thankfully, not very often that we have to do this kind of support, but we feel it makes a big difference when we do. I was going to ask Latif, because you've recently, I remember we went up one day and it was a Muslim family, and you were able to give them quite a bit of support in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'm sure every single person that's expressed an interest to join us this morning, you all are doing fantastic and amazing work in each of your own capacities, whether it's hospital based or not. And we are a very small clog in a very big machine in terms of providing that support, especially to those who are bereaved. And sadly, there's people who have suffered several miscarriages, and you can see the emotional toll, the hope that they have in terms of having children, etc. And then sadly something takes place like this. It must be really challenging for them, regardless of faith or spirituality. And often we are with and besides some of those special individuals at that time. And again, it's about being there alongside with them, explaining the procedure of what takes place, giving them hope through words of comfort in terms of the teachings of our faith around children and sadly life and
It's that lovely
death.
thing. Was that lovely thing that you said that when you lose a child, they pull you into heaven?
That's right.
Like
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. God compensates us for whatever He takes away from us in this world, and we hope and pray that as the teachings share with us, that those children who are lost in this world, that they will be a means of us entering the gardens of paradise on the day of reckoning, on the day of judgment. They will say to our Creator that I didn't get to spend time with my mother and my father and my family, and I want them to be with me in this life. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's many teachings around that. And again, going back to stillborn, or baby death, we will share information with them. And again, the pressure's still on for those families. I was off site once and I had a telephone call and from the hospital, and I was able to share with the father exactly what he would need to do in terms of arranging for the funeral, etc. And within 2 or 3 hours, he followed protocol, and thankfully there was no delays, and the funeral was announced for that lovely child, and everything took place in accordance to faith and
He
procedure.
was so grateful. That family was so grateful that you were able to guide them, because I just didn't know where to start, did they?
Yeah. Difficult times.
Thank you. Sorry, we've got a couple of stories to tell about random things that happen. Is that all right? Should we carry on and do that? Is everybody okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Please do.
Yeah.
So if we maybe go for 5-10 more minutes, and then we've still got time for people to contribute and ask questions. But yes, please do.
Perfect. Well, I was going to tell you the story this morning about Sid and Joan, because that was a bit of an interesting one that happened. A lovely people, lovely Sid that I met. And I met Sid because the funeral directors rang me and said, well, you've got a patient up on one of your wards called Sid, and we have his wife in our care. She died 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Sid and Joan haven't really got very much family. They lived a very lovely but very quiet life. They were very, very friendly with their neighbours, and they didn't have children. And Sid's so with you in the hospital at the moment, and we don't quite know how to manage to have a funeral for Joan, and we really this really needs to happen. Could we come and have the funeral in the hospital chapel? And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not sure about that. I was a bit panicky at first, and they said, well, we won't bring the coffin or anything. We'll just bring a lovely photo of Joan, and we'll bring some flowers. And but we really need to do it like tomorrow, because we think they might send Sid home to a care home, and then we don't know how we're going to be able to manage this. So I said, great, let's do it at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Good job. And I went up to see lovely Sid, who told me all about his wife Joan, told about their story and how they'd met and everything that they'd done, and her favourite music, and was very, very happy and upbeat to be thinking about having this service for her. Very, very incredibly grateful that this would happen. So I arranged this, and I thought, well, sometimes you have that thing happen, you see it on Facebook, where someone's going to be 99 or 100 or something at a care home and not going to get very many cards, so they kind of send out, and can anyone send a card to them? So I just put out to a hospital comms, is anybody free at 4 o'clock on Friday to come to the chapel to help support one of our patients say goodbye to his wife? And I thought, well, if we got 3 or 4 people, we'll be doubling our congregation, and that might just be a nice thing for Sid to have a bit of support. And he was quite up for this. But what actually happened was that we ran out of seats. That 50 people came, 60 people came, and I'd gone upstairs and collected Sid in his wheelchair. The ward had done him up all nice and smart with his jumper and his tie on, and he had a blanket over his knees. He was very frail. Pushed him in a wheelchair, and at one point, before we started the service, I just said, Sid, have you ever looked behind you and see all these people that said come and say goodbye to your Joan? And he was absolutely made up. He was just so overwhelmed and delighted, and he was just going, I can't believe it. I can't believe it's come and said goodbye to my Joan. This is just fantastic. I love it. And we sang along, we sang hymns, we put their favourite music on. Everybody was in tears. And then he sat at the door as everybody left, shook everyone's hand, and it was just brilliant, really, to be able to do that. It really was a celebration of life, and yes, that was really good. And then just another really quick story, I think, just about when it didn't go so well. I think, things don't always quite go as well as you hoped. And I remember going, a couple came to see me, a father and daughter came to see me and said, oh, Liz, can you come and say some prayers for my wife and my daughter's mother? And we think she's dying, but don't mention death. Don't tell her she's dying, because we'll think she'll be really worried about it. So I was like, that's a bit awkward. But I kind of tucked my prayers for end of life inside a Bible to kind of hide them a little bit, and went in. I said some general prayers about her finding peace and wholeness and stuff, and a bit vague. This very, very frail, almost translucent lady looked like she was about to die. And at one point, she sort of took her oxygen mask off as if she was going to say something, then kind of gave up and put it back on again. And I remember thinking, I wonder if she knows, and I know she knows, and she knows I know she knows. There's this great conspiracy of silence. And I think I tried to pop back later, but the family was still there, very adamantly, one either side of the bed, like, do not mention this. And then I felt kind of bad. I went back the next day, and she died in the night. And I always thought, I should have asked, I should have done something different. And I felt like, it's hard sometimes. And I suppose just telling that story, because we don't always get it right, but also because sometimes it's really hard to juggle or to balance the wishes of family compared to the wishes of the patient. And I think that travels on into funeral planning as well, that sometimes what the person wants and what the family want aren't always the same. And that's a little bit tricky as well, isn't it? Have you got any other quick story? Because we
Just
need
got
to,
a
I
quick
think we're
story.
finishing. Quick
Yeah,
story.
just got
Yeah.
a quick story. Yes, of course. In terms of emotions that we see, we too are humans. We too sometimes go through challenging emotions from time to time, and thankfully we've got a good support network within the teams that we work, and I hope you all have the same. Whoever's listening in today, I was asked by the hospital to come in at a particular time. The time was 6:45 in the evening, where sadly the machines were going to be turned off of a young man, a Muslim man who suffered a horrible and horrendous brain hemorrhage, and the family were in agreement with everything that was going to do, what was going to take place. So I arrived about 6:30, and I entered the side room in ICU, where there was about 20 odd family members of all ages and both genders, and I was asked to share some words, to which I did, and I was there for over an hour until almost the last of the family members were ready to leave. And in that process, we talked about life, we talked about celebration, there was recitation of the Quran, there were lots of tears, there were lots of happy moments about the person who passed away, and the family members were sharing how influential he was in their lives, etc. So yes, we left a situation where, without that spiritual and religious input, it would have been very different for those, especially the younger family members that were present at that time. And then again, it's quite challenging for us as well. But when we talk about it, we reflect upon it. I think it's really important to use and share certain examples as support for each other too.
Mm, mm. I think one of the most special things about here is being part of that multi-faith team and knowing that even though we kind of walk different walks and we have different beliefs, we have an awful lot in common. And I think by working together in the hospital and the way that we respond to people with who goes, who can go at that moment in time, sometimes followed up by somebody who's nearer in the world view of that patient, but sometimes we've attended people from different faiths and they've done what we can, and then we've said, oh well, I can send I remember Shamsuddin going to somebody in resus who was dying and I wasn't around, and he did what he could and brought some prayers and kind thoughts and to that bedside, and he said, don't worry, Liz will be here soon and she will come in and say the prayers that you wanted, and they said, no, there's no need, you've done what needed doing. And moments like that make it very special that we can work together.
Yeah.
And
or at least offer that support.
we
many
just
times
we offer what we can, don't we?
Yeah.
So I think that's us. We're better stop.